Your Humanities Half Hour is brought to you by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.
Welcome to Your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry. The My Marianas Writing Contest is a project conducted by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council to promote literacy and the diverse backgrounds and experiences of high school students within the Marianas. The contest was conducted earlier this year with an invitation to all high school students to submit a personal narrative essay for a chance to win cash prizes and an opportunity to have their work published. The Council received 57 personal narrative essays that addressed this year's theme, Senses of Home. Contestants were challenged to share their own reflections of home in the Marianas as experienced through one or more of their senses: light, sound, taste, touch, or smell. The top 3 winning essays and 5 runner-ups are published in the 2023 My Marianas Writing Contest booklet. And here now to share their essays are some of the winners. From 12th grade at Mount Carmel, first place winner, Jill Anne Mallari.
The ocean. Standing by the shore, I was immersed in a sensory feast that only the ocean could provide. The waves crashed onto the sand, producing a roar of applause for the beauty of nature. The briny scent of the sea was so pungent that it seemed to tango on my taste buds. I could hear the sound of my body's internal rhythm as I stepped into the world's largest swimming pool. As I gazed out into the ocean, I was captivated by its awe-inspiring grandeur. Its blue hue was tinged with a subtle green undertone, and its surface shimmered like millions of diamonds colliding with the waves and caressing the sand. With each step I took, the sand felt like a gritty cloud that I could sink into. The water played a game of cat and mouse, teasing my toes as I rushed back into hiding with each incoming wave. But as the cycle repeated, the water crept closer and closer until I felt the rush of the current under me and the sand slipping away from between my toes and back to the ocean. In the distance, I heard my cousin's laughter, adding to the symphony of sensory experiences that made me feel so connected to the ocean. Growing up on island was something I had always been proud of. My favorite answer when describing home was, the ocean's my backyard. But surrounded by water on all sides, I always felt a bit out of place. I had never liked swimming in beaches. More so, I didn't know how to swim. Most kids learn to swim before they could walk, it seemed, but I never quite got the hang of it. The thought of going into the water filled me with a sense of anxiety, and I always managed to find an excuse to stay on the shore. I did, however, admire the grandness of the ocean. Bonsai Cliff has been my sanctuary for as long as I can remember. Before I could drive, I'd get excited when family members came on island to visit, since it meant driving around the island and visiting Bonsai once again. I was awestruck by the stunning view of the vast blue ocean meeting the clear sky. Sometimes, I would sit for hours, lost in thought as I contemplated the vastness of the sea and the mysteries that lay beneath its surface. And since I've gotten my driver's license, whenever I needed a break or a moment of solace, I would hop in my car and drive up to Bonsai Cliff. There's something special about being able to escape the hustle and bustle of daily life and just sit and admire the beauty of nature. Every day I get to be there, I consider myself incredibly lucky to live on an island where I can quickly escape to the peacefulness of Bonsai and feel the ocean breeze on my face. But the more I grow to love my home, the more it's taken away. Pacific Islanders are called to be the guardians of this ocean. But despite being the lowest regional carbon emitters, Pacific Islanders are the very ones experiencing the severe negative impacts of climate change. Over the years, I myself have noticed a significant change in the way the ocean interacts with our island. I remember walking along the beach one day and noticing how high the tide had reached, covering much of the sand and creeping closer to the buildings behind me. It was a jarring sight, and it made me feel like our island was getting smaller. As the sea level rose, the beach that I used to play on as a child, Micro Beach, began to disappear. The water would come closer and closer to the buildings that lined the shore, and during high tide, large portions of the beach were completely submerged. I remember feeling a sense of sadness and loss as I watched the beach that had been such an important part of my childhood disappear before my eyes. It felt as if the days of hearing children laugh as they bike along the pathways, smelling the smoke of grilled barbecue, and watching the sunset were slipping from my fingers. As time went on, the effects of climate change on our island became more and more apparent. Recently, I learned that military personnel had plans to release fuel into the ocean near our island. The thought of such a toxic substance being introduced to the very waters that are so vital to our way of life was alarming and deeply concerning. As someone who has always felt a deep connection to the ocean, it was difficult to not feel a sense of outrage and sadness at the thought of our precious waters being contaminated. The ocean is not just a source of food and livelihood for us. It is also a spiritual and cultural symbol that has played a central role in our lives for generations. Still, my love for the ocean prevails. Even after all the challenges we face, I'm eternally grateful for our oceana and the ways in which it connects us. Whether it's through the food we eat or the stories we share, the ocean is a reminder of our shared humanity and our responsibility to care for the natural world. As I stood on the beach, gazing out at the vast expanse of the ocean in front of me, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the community I grew up in. It was a community that understood the importance of preserving our home and protecting its natural beauty. A community that came together to do beach cleanups and other initiatives to ensure that our ocean remained healthy and vibrant. It was a beautiful day, with the sun shining brightly and a gentle breeze blowing in from the sea. The water sparkled like diamonds, and the waves crashed gently onto the shore. It was hard to imagine that this peaceful scene was threatened by the impacts of climate change. But I knew that our community was up to the task. I looked around at the people gathered around me, volunteers from all walks of life who had come together for this beach cleanup. They were a diverse group, united by a common love for our island and a shared commitment to preserving it. As we worked, picking up litter and debris from the beach, I felt a sense of purpose and belonging. This was my home, and I was proud to be part of a community that cared so deeply about it. And as we finished the cleanup and gathered for a group photo, I felt a sense of hope for the future. In the past, my biggest fear was drowning, the vastness of the unknown. But now, I no longer fear it, because I constantly live in the waves of the unknown. The ocean, the crashing waves reverberating with each other, showcasing their might through their deafening roar and the distant cries muffled by the distance. The briny scent of terror tingling on my taste buds. The ocean seemed like a vast and bottomless pit of sorrow and suffering, dim and chilly with a sense of uncertainty. The sensation of an imminent end, yet not quite. It echoes. The sea is our pathway to each other and to everyone else. The sea is our endless saga. The sea is our most powerful metaphor. The ocean is in us.
That was Jill Anne Mallari reading her first place winning essay from My Marianas Writing Contest. And now in second place, from 10th grade at Kegman High School, Drylynne Joseph.
The scarred knees. Glancing at a scar, scratch or birthmark reflects flashbacks of core memories. Well, this is where my sense of home lies, the scars on my knees. Now, where did these scars come from? It's surprising to see how a big scar can remain visible, but appear smaller as I age. I've always wanted these scars to fade since I got them at age 5, but now that I'm older, I might actually miss them if they disappear. The scars from my childhood have provoked some of my most cherished memories, like rolling down a small hill and taking gruesome yet entertaining baths. It was a sunny summer day, and yet I wanted to play. The discomfort in my worn-out legs gave up on me as I struggled to get out of bed. My sore throat made the morning of the day even worse. I felt like I was already 8 years old. To my right side of the bed, I looked down and saw a cup of water on the floor and took a sip while basking in the golden sunlight streaming through the windows. My sister was sleeping on the floor beside me, and I couldn't recall how I got there. The pain in my legs prompted me to remember what had happened the day before. While my dad was inside the house, I remember finding it amusing as a child to roll forward on a small grass hill in front of my house, pretending to be a rolling barrel. However, on one occasion, I rolled forward without realizing that there were rocks at the bottom of the hill. As a result, I experienced an intense stinging pain in my knees. When I looked down, I saw that my knees were scraped and bleeding. I ran back to my house, crying as if I had just been pecked by a chicken or barked at by a stray dog. My dad was extremely worried when he saw how badly my knees were injured. Both knees were bleeding and flies were buzzing around the wounds. Pieces of grass were sticking to the blood that was dripping from the 2 round open wounds on my left knee, and there was a large stinging scratch on the right. The immunity from the adrenaline had worn off by the time I realized the severity of my injuries. My dad first questioned me about what happened, but tears streamed down my face, and then he scolded me after I explained that I was just trying to experience the world spinning around. After my mom came from work, he told her about what I had said, how I was being impulsive the whole day, and that my actions had finally met their consequences. He assumed my mom would also get riled up and spank me with a Zori, till she laughed and said, "How can you say that and not laugh?" I looked at her and she was giggling. My dad started to laugh too and said, "You know what? I was just worried, okay? Masawas." Despite the pain I was feeling in my knees, it all went away for a while at this moment. Just witnessing my parents' little wholesome discourse eased me. Later on, my dad took care of my wounds by applying coconut oil, and I couldn't stop crying. He gave me a faja to enjoy so that I could be distracted from it. Because of this, I enjoyed eating the faja he gave me, which made up for my appetite since I'd been running and tumbling down a hill that day. After my wounds were attended to, I had to take a shower because my mom told me I smelled and looked like a mango that had been rotting on the ground. Looking at my mom, I stood there thinking if I should say something sarcastic too. But my mom flicked my forehead with her finger and asked, "Oh, you were going to say something?" Before I could. Unsure if my mom had read my mind or not, I was taken aback. And then there's my sister on the side, giggling like the gremlin she is, enjoying her mango cocoa. We made eye contact, and I gave her a side eye after she had glared at me. It was like one of those cowboy duels in the movies where we both have a stare down. But in reality, I quickly walked past her since my mom kept calling my name to go shower before I was going to get a whooping. When I was a child, my mom would boil water from the Nior and Nipur plants and then fill those plastic quart 5-gallon buckets to use as a shower for me. We waited for a while, and after that, my mom filled up her small bucket to see if it was warm. This shower was intended as a medicine healer to remove any negativity that had followed me when I played around at noon or night. My mom and dad believed in traditional healing, so bathing me with Nior was like a spiritual cleanser. As I was ending my agonizing bath, I heard my dad playing one of his songs, Chue Chue by Ozeki, on the CD radio speaker while he was preparing our dinner, which enlightened my mood because I was still hungry. I smelled tapioca being cooked, and it was one of my favorite desserts to eat growing up. My mom would shred the tapioca, add sugar, and wrap it around banana leaves to put in the pot to boil. Although my sister got it first, I was eager to eat it when my dad brought it out. Feeling sad since my sister had gobbled up the dessert, I just dozed off in the kitchen and was lost in my thoughts, drenched in my Dora towel, so my dad called out to me, "Nangun, go dress up." I covered my head and ran towards my room, giggling all the way. However, I accidentally bumped into the wooden wall that separated the living room from the left side of our rooms, designed to create a hallway, which made me laugh even louder. My sister and I were concerned about my outburst of laughter and questioned me about it. I realized then that laughing randomly was kind of a habit for me. During dinner time, I sat on a small bucket or a ladder chair because the table was too high for me, but we decided to have our dinner outside on a picnic table. Eating outside was therapeutic because we could watch the sunset, see Grandpa in the distance, and the cars going along the road in our Koble village. I also loved eating outside to see the birds that would fly by our house, and it was fascinating to see the ones far up in the sky flying in a V formation. When we finished our supper, my sister carried the plates back to the kitchen, and my dad brought me to the kitchen to wash my hands and mouth before taking me to bed to rest. Although I had some regret, I was slightly happy that I had done something so bizarre, and it sure was a lesson for me not to do things so suddenly. I was grounded for a month, and my dad kept me inside the house every day till summer ended. I remember thinking to myself, lying on the bed, if these scars will eventually heal up, and if they do, I'll just play again. The door creaks open, and then there's my mom. "Don't even think about playing outside again if you're healed up, eh?" she said. I giggled and tried to sleep. A distinctive smell caused me to be half awake. The light scent of the coconut got stronger in the room, and I was thinking, damn, they're going to apply the coconut oil again. It was a painful process that led me to consider the careless actions that caused me pain. While lying on the bed and feeling a little drained, I shook my head and murmured, "Tch." Even now, 16 years later, when I look down at my scarred knees while putting on my shoes, applying lotion, pulling on my socks, or just holding my knees to my chest provides comfort, reminding me of the resilience I have gained through overcoming that experience. That incident has made me cautious when walking down hills, whether they are wet or dry. I always examine the ground for any large rocks. As my left leg takes a step forward, I am reminded of that spontaneous 5-year-old girl. The mere sight of the scars on my knees evoke memories and bittersweet sensations that I will never forget. These scars hold value as a visible reminder of my past and have helped shape me into the person I am today.
You're listening to Your Humanities Half Hour.
I Northern Marianas Humanities Council bula guinahanya puri historian Marianas dan kultura. Sinyon soda SCCNN formacion gi zon mami website nmhcouncil.org pat bisita gi YouTube pat Facebook. Guahalokwi diferentes clases la bluna sinya un fan. I Northern Marianas Humanities Council has uzura todo I experiencia tautau.
Welcome back to Your Humanities Half Hour. We are listening to the winning essayists in this year's My Marianas Writing Contest conducted by the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, inviting high school students in the Marianas to submit personal narratives on this year's theme, Senses of the Marianas. Here now, from 12th grade at Mount Carmel School, is third place winner Brissa Hunter.
Our beaches become our memories. Living in the Marianas is the smell of salt water in the air on a windy day when you live close to the beach, and the satisfying feeling of finding a cold spot of water when swimming as the sun shines brightly down on you. Living in the Marianas is waking up in the morning and stepping outside your house to sounds of birds chirping, neighbors' chickens crowing, and dogs barking in the distance. Living in the Marianas is the feeling you get when you eat your first spoonful of chicken kelewin from your plate at a family gathering. There are so many unique experiences that encompass what living in the Marianas is, and that is what is beautiful about these islands. Our experiences and memories of home, of belonging, and of community are built by everything from the food we share, the waters we swim in, the hugs we give, and the environment around us. I am proud to have been born and raised in the Marianas. While there are so many sensory feelings that make me feel that I am home, the feeling of being at our beautiful beaches and taking in the scenery with the warm sand between your toes and the luck you feel as a cool breeze passes by is one that is irreplaceable to me. Just the sight of one of our beaches opens the door to a whole lifetime's worth of memories and other sensory experiences that all intermingle to create my feeling of home. I care deeply for our environment. I'm happy that our community makes efforts to keep our beaches clean and teach children and adults alike to do the same, not just for our visitors, but for us. There's nothing sadder than the feeling of walking toward our blue waters, ready to jump in when your foot catches on a piece of plastic in the sand. It is moments like that where I wonder if the piece of plastic is there by accident or if someone had intentionally left it there. Why would people do such a thing? In a place that brings me so much happiness and sense of home, I cannot count the amount of times I've had to stop what I'm doing to throw trash away properly. I sit on the sand under the shade of those trees with the little pine cones and wonder if we are doing enough to discourage littering or if it will ever stop at all. It is at this point I usually get up to go swim, and then I find a cigarette butt thrown away as if the tree is a trash can. The cycle continues. Yet, even though there are people who could care less sometimes about the way their trash affects our beaches, there are a rising number of people in our community who use their weekends to do cleanups, who tell their children that it isn't right to leave your trash. And as I pick up the cigarette butt to throw away, I'm reminded of our community and those who care about keeping that feeling of home within everyone when they go to the beach. The feeling of home is finally getting out of the water to grab a icy from the cooler and the refreshing cool feeling of ice brushing up against your hands when you go to grab it because you have been in the sun too long. It is going back into the water to swim and how quickly time passes by because you see your mom telling you it's time to go. Sometimes the beach reminds me of that time that my family went to swim in the evening during termite season and we stayed in the water till they stopped swarming near our car. We were able to make our escape. All of these memories are from being at the beach, and even just driving by and seeing one of our beaches brings me back to so many moments in life. All of these sensory experiences work together to build these memories that I hold dear to my heart, that remind me of family and home. While there are beaches all around the world, the ones we have here in the Marianas are the ones that will always be the most special to me. When my dad drives my family to check out how the current looks on a windy day, I think about how we come to see our beautiful beaches, and how at the same time these beaches saw me grow up into the person I am today. I think about how they will continue to see me grow as a person for the rest of my life. I think about how environments will change me and how climate and erosion will change them. Will a little girl still be able to make sandcastles like I did in the future? I think about milestones like birthdays and baby christenings that have been celebrated here. And now, I'm thinking about how much value is held in these beaches that play such a big part in many of our lives here in the Marianas. I know that when I will be off to college in the States in a few months, I will only have the scenic pictures I've taken on my phone of our beaches to look at as a reminder of how important they are in my life. The thought of not being able to walk along the shore and pick up a hermit crab and watch it crawl across my palm before gently returning it, or picking up a shell and wondering how nature makes such pretty things, is going to be hard. This is because so many of these memories involve family and friends who have shared my experiences at our beaches throughout my life. The feeling of home will come to me when I think about how my dad taught my sisters and I how he and his siblings used to dig for clams near the shoreline to make clam chowder to feed their family. The feeling of home will come to me when I feel the sun on the other side of the world and wonder if it's an overcast kind of day in Saipan, the one where you are swimming and thankful for the shades the clouds bring for just a moment. These experiences that all revolve around seeing the beaches here in Saipan will always remind me of who I am in this world and where I came from. No matter how difficult life may get in the future, it is these moments that I am sure I will think back on to remind me of the happiness that I felt simply running toward the water because I was barefoot in the hot sand. It amazes me how we have places like that with the ability to bring families or even the whole community together. To think that our beaches can prompt people to recall so many fond memories of family and friends throughout their lives here in the Marianas is incredible. For me, the memories made at our beaches are part of what make up who I am and who I will grow to be. Our beaches truly become our memories, and that is an aspect of living in the Marianas that I would never trade for anything else.
That was third place winner Brissa Hunter in the Northern Marianas Humanities Council My Marianas Writing Contest. The Council would like to acknowledge and thank all student contestants for making an effort to write an essay for this purpose and displaying the courage to share their personal experiences and stories. This also wouldn't have been possible without their teachers, friends, and family members who took the time to encourage and support their work. To ensure a disciplined approach to identifying the top essays, the Council enlisted the help of volunteer judges, Gretchen Smith, Randy Joe Barcenas Manglonia, Ayani Burrell, Patrick Romalor, Jane Mack, and Brian Torres. Again, thank you to all the contestants and students for sharing their own reflections of home in the Marianas through their writing, and congratulations to the winners. This has been your Humanities Half Hour. I'm Catherine Perry.
This program was supported by a We the People grant awarded to the Northern Marianas Humanities Council from the National Endowment for the Humanities. Any views, findings, conclusions, or recommendations expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily represent those of the National Endowment for the Humanities or the Northern Marianas Humanities Council.